Hello Tubesters, it's me Gav and welcome to another one of my videos. Today we are looking at, as I scrabble around for something to show you, let's do the bridge section. We're looking at HMS Kent. She's a 1 in 3 50 scale Royal Navy frigate, and Kent is in service still at the moment, and so is a number of her sister ships with the Royal Navy. Made by Trumpeter. Full hull. You could obviously try and cut it down if you were more skilled than me, and coming to that in a minute. A really fantastic build. I have to say, I believe I've been studying thousands of not just HMS Kent pictures but all her sister ships. I've said to you before, post-war, I follow ships from the 1700s through to now. But I particularly like post-war warships. But I'm into Great War warships. I've got tons of different reference books on ships throughout different eras of military history. But I do enjoy post-war warships. In fact, I'm looking around now. Yes, just let me stretch over here. Oops, I must drop in. Just had some figures sent to me. Just got this through the post with a postie today on the British Type 42 destroyer, no longer in service with us. I've loved this ship ever since as a 14-year-old. Well, before that really, I'd seen them on a couple of Navy days, and these ships went to war in the Falklands, and tragically we lost two. HMS Coventry and HMS Sheffield, along with some other warships which I won't go into now, but as it was Type 42 I just thought I'd mention it. May their crews rest in peace. I've always had an interest in post-war and from other countries, not just Royal Navy, but my favourite post-war warship is the Type 23 destroyer, which HMS Kent is, and her sister ships. We've since sold, I don't know if it's 2, 3 or 4 to Chile, and they're now in the Chilean Navy, that's how they say. And but we've put a modernisation programme in. Believe it's a Type 26 that will be replacing her. As I've said to you guys, I'll hold this up again because it has got some clutter to it. I love all this, the more cluttered ships as I call them. Obviously they're trying to make modern warships less susceptible for detection by radar, and things like that, so surveillance in general I suppose, and they're all streamlined, and yeah, I'm sure they look nice, but they're not a Type 23 or a ship of her era from literally the late 1970s up to almost the present time. I look at the Type 45 destroyers we've got, and apart from they've got serious engine problems, or they have, I don't know if they've fixed them all yet, but they just don't look the same. I don't know, they've gone to obviously try and blank off as much as they can, and it doesn't have as much character, I believe, as a Type 23. I think they've got bags of character, and they're such capable ships, and they are, again, I've talked over myself, I think they're going to be modernised up to, or at least keep, well, our country's notorious for cutting everything. They keep pointing, classic politicians, they keep pointing to the 2 aircraft carriers we've now got, which for years didn't have any aircraft on them. I think I've said this before. I remember the commander or the admiral, I don't know, of the first one, HMS Queen Elizabeth, telling us how great his ship would be for humanitarian relief, and I just shook my head. Talk about trying to justify this platform. I justify it. I'm the one who wanted aircraft carriers. I particularly say 3 aircraft carriers, so we've got 1 being serviced and 2, 1 completely operational and 1 ready to steam at so many days' notice. We never will have 3. But in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't sell those 2 off in the next few years. But for years, we had, the only thing she could operate was helicopters, because in the rush the government's rushed to, and it's been the same party in power in here for ages. This isn't a party political thing because I can't stand any of them. Well, we don't need the Harrier. The Harrier's old, blah, blah, blah. Well, it might have been, but, States Marine Corps have been operating fine still. I think Spanish still operate fine. I believe Italy, do they? I can't remember if the Italians, I believe they do. But they could have held on to the Harrier and operated Harrier off them for, as long as it took these new F-35s. And in fact, we've actually had one go down in the Mediterranean last week. I believe, as nothing's hardly been said, I believe the pilots managed to eject okay, thank goodness. But yeah, how I know it bugs me. Defence cuts bug me because it's so short-sighted. It's unbelievable. But let's not go down that road. Let's just talk about the Type 23. Yeah, it's been a fantastic little kit as far as quite large kit really for me. What I'm trying to do is develop it as much as I can with my really limited skills. What I was surprised was looking at the photographs that I've been looking at a lot, and I think I've been mainly going to modelship.com. I think I've mentioned this before, and there's a guy up there who's obviously interested in the Type 23. I believe he's in Germany, and he's had loads of walk rounds with at least about 8 of them, and I'm visiting that every time I'm building, or even just looking. Maybe if I'm not built it that night, I might still go on and look at photographs, try and retain them, although with my memory problems it's a bit hard. But yeah, I'm trying to just develop it slightly more, where I was surprised Trumpeter had actually, majority from what I can see, and bear in mind ships change all the time, something might be bolted on or welded on one ship and not on another, or it varies, but on the whole, all the little bumps and the little circles, they're a bit simplified, but I'm not very good with scale, and I don't know if they could have made them any bigger in that scale or not. I'm just trying to add things, and I'll go through that when we go down to the desk in a minute. It's only plasticard and bits of wire, just to add that bit of extra definition to the ship. And it's surprising as well. The more you look at the ships, you realise they're a lot more colourful than you often see them portrayed by people. They tend to go, nice red bottom, nice boot line, that's the black line, the demarcation line, and then the grey. I'm looking over there because the hole's over there, which we will be having a look at in a minute. But when you actually take all that away, when you actually look at, as I've said to you before, there's a myriad of I actually said that first time. Myriad of warning stickers now. At this scale, I'm not sure what I can do. As I said to you guys, I'm going to try and look at maybe making getting some of that decal sheet, and maybe trying to get my wife to print some off. Maybe I can't get the real McCoy, but I've found ship warning ones and just general warning, almost building site ones. What I'm after is if they've got the same colour, like blue top or red top and yellow bottom, at that, you're not going to be reading them at that scale. It's just going to be that. But if I try and paint them on, am I going to really be able to paint a very nice neat square? I might do, I might not, but yeah, so that is the other option, is painting them on, and we'll come to that again in a minute. But yeah, you won't think there's a lot done, but believe me, and I sometimes don't touch it for 2 or 3 nights, because sometimes I'll carry on painting my commission work until later on into the night, or I might be painting, bearing in mind I've got 2 commissions doing, plus a third one I'm doing for a review. So that's been going on over the last obviously while, and I just put my ship in. I'm also doing, the cupboard shunted itself over that side now. My wife's had to tidy up, so we've got the lower cupboard on view now. Well, obviously I'm doing my 1 in 35 Sherman. In fact, I was doing the tracks for that last night, very slowly. But yeah, let's go down to the bench, because I'm rambling away. Obviously, I only said to my wife the other day, I believe this build's going to go on till about the end of January. I can see. I'm in no rush. I'm just picking her up when I want to do a bit, putting it down. And when she is complete, I will get, I've always said I'll probably get, when I have the money, I'll probably get, while it's still around, I might get 2 boxes of 20 Type 23s in. It's a shame that Type 42, which I say is no longer in service, I've noticed that Dragon, when you can get them, do a little the 1 in 700s, and that's, I don't believe they do a 1 in 350 with that, which is a real shame. And I don't think nobody ever will. You can get them in resin, but they're talking like £100+ you know, and that's a lot of dough, that is. Anyway, that's it really. Before we go down to the bench, as I say, at the moment, I'd recommend it. Can't recommend it highly enough to people. There are simplifications, and if you look at, if you get really into it, like I am, I am. So I'm into ships, but I don't always know. Obviously, I'm not a naval personnel, and trying to get books on these, especially the more modern ones, is really hard, because there's no call for them, or well, I don't know if it's just that Type 42 were in service. I mean, that book was done in 1984, 85, something like that. Anyway, a couple of years after the Falklands War in 82, and they've been getting, there's line drawings and everything for each ship. It's a fantastic little book. If you on eBay at the moment, about £8. There obviously is a big clutch of them around. So if you're into modern ships in general, then Type 24, which is the Modern Combat Ships number 3, Type 42, I should say, by Leo Marriott. All black and white photographs, which was usually the case in them days, apart from the cover photo, just to get your attention. But you don't really need them, you know. It's packed with information. Going off subject again, aren't we? Let's go down to the bench and let's check out HMS Kent in 1 in 350 scale. Right guys, thanks for joining me at the bench. I'm sorry for all the soldier clutter in the background. I've got so much on the bench at the moment. I really didn't get enthusiastic about trying to find places to put them where I made the video, so I apologise for that. I'm desperately looking for a pointy stick of some description. Come on, Gav. Right, the top of the deck here has been painted by hand. And I mixed a couple of colours up, and Gav's furiously trying to remember which ones he did. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Dark sea, grey, and something else, which is going to be a problem when I do the rest of it, because I haven't wrote it down. Yeah, Gav, write stuff down, it helps. You can see the mottling through the paint. That's deliberate. It may need a second coat, however, I want to put some oils on this to put some weathering, because I've noticed a lot of these deck surface areas, they are textured for walking on, from what I could see, or it appeared to be. And by the way, this is where the main is it Mark 8 deck gun's going to be, and these are for the Sea Cat. They're still Sea Cat in these. They've changed them to Sea Scepter now. It's just that more or less the launchers and how many missiles they can do. But this is the older variant when Kent was still, not far, way back in the service anyway. These are the harpoon launchers that point from port and starboard, but I can't remember which side's which. Bridge structure, engineering spaces where the funnels are, and the general engineering spaces, and the helicopter hangar and flight deck at the back. I've painted that by hand. I thought, I am not trying to mask off all this, and especially as I'm not going to attempt to mask off the deck areas on the bits I'm building, the different superstructures and things. So I decided to give it a go by hand. I kept the paint, as I would do for figures, quite fluid, so I didn't get any brush strokes in them, or not many anyway. But as I say, there will be lots of weathering going on with this. Fortunately with my head, I tend to say stuff and then not finish what I'm saying. I do apologise, guys. So what I was going to say was, there's a lot of footfall and things around, like I've noticed around this gun area, there's a lot of brown marks, and I don't know if that's where the constant walking around has taken back the blueness, and there's like a light browny wear and tear look to it. I still haven't done the anchor change yet. I've got to move Jason from Model Kit Stuff. He's a well-known shipbuilder, and he suggested if I wasn't going to use a chains, which I hadn't got, to twist the photo etch chain around, and it'll make it look a bit more like a, you know, anchor chain. So I've got to do that and prime it, paint it before I attach it, and then obviously just put a bit of paint around anything that the glue mucks up. All these, like this water combing here, or the combing is it? It's obviously when the waves come over. That's got to be painted. Again, I'll do that by hand. So it's not going to be lacquer paint that I've used on the hull. So it is a case of just trying to mix and match as best you can. If we'll have a quick look at the. In fact, should we go down a bit, because I'm going to turn the hull over a bit. That's as best I could do on a first attempt for a boot lining and the base. You can see there's a faint line, at least where the red leading, as I would call it, is. It's not red lead, is it? But you know, it's that anti-fouling paint that they put on. You know, it's as good as I can do. There's a few little black marks which are either going to have to be covered over with weathering, or I will paint them out by hand somehow. But what I was going to say to you is, I have actually decided to make this, rather than sitting on a cradle a bit like this, you know, it comes with its own. I haven't got any of the brass things, and I've already stuck everything down, so I can't fit. They screw into the bottom of these brass stands. So I'm actually going to. I thought, oh, I'm doing all this extra bits and pieces. Let's go the full hog and put it on a sea base. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll be cutting a hole in some foam and sitting this down, and then taking it off and building a sea base round. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, so yeah. So that what I'm trying to say is, the black boot mark from the bottom line to the anti-fouling red, almost red brown in my case. That, although there's a slight white ridge, I did go and try and sand it down very slightly. I don't think that's going to be on show, because I'm going to have her in the water, so that probably won't show. So yeah, that's my ship's hull at the moment. I'm not getting far off from a couple of weeks away yet, probably, but I'll start adding parts of the superstructure and the deck gun and bits and pieces. Obviously the anchor chain's definitely got to go on. Also at the rear area here, I mean, there'll be ship's railings, by the way. Let's not fall on me soldiers over. Be railings all the way along here. On the flight deck area at the rear here, there's actually nets that stick up, but when they are in operational mode, you know, with the links on, they fold out to the sides. I'll take it, obviously stopping people falling over or getting blown over with the rotors. There is a slight gap at the back here, where the one piece joins in. I filled the rest quite nicely. There's a gap here, but I wasn't too concerned, because that's going to be covered over. Famous last words, but it's going to hopefully be covered over by the netting that goes over the back. So yeah, I've also managed to knock off one of my homemade bollards on the side. Probably knock a few more off before the end of the job. But yeah, I can't, as I say, I can't say it enough, guys. I'm even going to get myself a plastic cover for this, and I'll keep this one for a while. It really is just solid entertainment. I know that, but it's just really enjoyable. If you've got an enthusiasm for a subject, you know, even if you don't know a huge amount about it, I really do wish there were some reference books. If there's any writers out there, write about the Type 23 frigate, please. Right, let's move that out of the way. Hang on, I better put her back where she's been living. Otherwise, we're going to be in a world of hurt. Right, let's put it down there. Right. So, join me in a minute, guys. No, it might be able to work. No, let's see if we can do it from where we are. Right, let's plonk our... How small does that look? Oh, right, let's see if we can go down. Otherwise I'll have to knock the camera off and move the... No, I will. Bear with me. Right guys, I apologise for all that confusion. I just went with lowering the tripod. It's a lot easier. Right, this is our bridge structure. She's obviously stuck down, and I've done a bit of filling. I've got a bit more filling to do where the different pieces have joined, but there's not a ton of filling to do, to be honest with you. It's just, you know, tidying it up really. Now it doesn't look a lot, and it looks pretty rough. hopefully paint might make it look a bit better. Right, let's as we're looking at what you're thinking, what are these little things? These are tiny bits of copper wire that I've cut off and tried to make door latches. I've noticed that they're all at different positions on these doors, as in where they sit. So I wasn't too worried about. I've put them at different positions as well, just to try and make them look a bit better. That's a bit of a grubby stick to be pointing with, to be honest with you, but never mind. Right, so yeah, this has taken an age to cut, because some of them you can get to using your wax pencil. I use one of these, you can pick them up three in a pack there for putting like gemstones on nails. I believe Greg Riley uses them for his nails when he goes out. But yeah, you can pick these up dirt cheap, well in the UK anyway, and I mean that's huge. I keep meaning to cut the damn thing down, but yeah, I use one of those to pick up photo etch, and even bits of plastic it works on. I can see photo etch ladders, part of that set that I've got. But yeah, I've put these on because there was no latches at all, and every time I looked at the ship's photographs, they were crying out for something like that. So I've put that type of detail on. All this area, by the way, will have railings all around. It's just obviously plain. I'm not putting any railings on until they're actually stuck down. These sections are stuck down on the ship, because I'll only squeeze them and bust them off. And you know what photo etch is like. Once bent, it's extremely hard to get it rebent. These are, just to let you know, these are decoy launchers, I believe. Probably, I'm not sure if these are flare launchers or chaff. Sometimes they do both, and obviously to decoy missiles that have been close range that are coming at the ship, to confuse the seeker on the missile. I believe these are satellite antennas. In the book, when I was looking at the photographs, it kept calling them aerials, and I'm thinking, well, in the army we were always told aerials are for TVs, antenna are for radio, military radios anyway. So I've noticed there was a little tiny inspection. Can we see that? I can see it, but you guys can't. If you can see, there's let's try and not knock anything off. A little bit of silver foil, you know, the cooking foil, I've put that there because they are little inspection, unbolting things, you know, and you can get to obviously I presume the satellite antenna. I'm only saying that Type 42 book called them satellite aerials inside. So I'm calling them satellite antennas. I presume they still have the same function, as they look exactly the same. The front bit here, there's like a reinforcing panel. Whether that takes, I've no idea why, whether it's through weather or whether it's through the launches of the harpoons that are close by, I've no idea. But there's reinforcing panels put on the front. So I put a bit of plastic card on there. I used some tiny cut up, again, copper wire, it's got some prominent bolts on. I don't know if that really worked. I'm hoping it'll disguise them a bit when they're painted. Otherwise I'll do what I should have done. What I did, you're not going to see this probably, around the window frames I've put some dabs of CA glue to represent bolt heads. They're not they're not to scale, and they're not even, you know, correct numbers, because trying to dab a bit of glue on the end of a cocktail stick, you're not going to make. It's just there as to show the lumps of the bolts or rivets that hold the frames, the window frames in more. and I'm hoping that'll show up under paint. These were shown by Trumpeter, these blocks, and you get more copper wire. They're actually would be going down to some windscreen wipers on each one. I haven't tried to replicate the windscreen, not even with my my copper wire. I thought that would just mess up the windows, but they were really tiny and flat on the model. So I've cut some plastic card up again and put it on top of the original one, and to make it stand out. And then I've put a bit of wire on the top. There wasn't enough length for me to make it anything. The wire's a bit more looped up, and obviously goes into a hole. Well, all I could do is just hopefully, again, when it's under paint and then touched up with I think there might even be black cable, I'm not sure, but that will be hopefully shown a bit better. We've still got some filling, as I say, on the ship in general, so don't worry, things like that's going to disappear. Now, a lot of these areas here, a lot of them are things like fire hoses and stuff, which obviously aren't. They've just left them as little blocks. I didn't think, there's no way I could really depict a fire hose, because it's not is the classic reel. It's laid on top of each other so they can be dragged out quickly. And there's lots of different vents and stuff as well. I've got a bit of cabling to, again, with my classic copper or lead wire, to run underneath there when I've seen how far it goes. Obviously all these slots are going to be for, let me just put that down. No, I can't see anything at the moment, but yeah, they're going to have things like that. They're going to have things like this life raft container on them, mainly, not completely, but mainly they're for life raft containers. So yeah, all these little, some are cooling vents, which you'll see on some of the bits I'm going to show you in a minute. Others are, you just have to have a look, but there's lots of different colours you can put on them so your ship isn't going to be completely grey if you don't want it to be. These boxes here, they had, on the photographs, they had an extra piece of metal sticking around them, like I've replicated there, and you could just see the outside of the main box with that stuck on the edge. So that's what I've done there. Obviously you've seen this stuff before. I don't know if I'd actually glued it on, but that's Atlantic Models photo etch on that. I've added, as I showed you before, these are for the power cat, what they call isolators or whatever. I added those on because they were just shown on the model as just tiny little sharp bits of plastic. There was no definition whatsoever to them. So again, I'm just trying to, with my limited skills, I'm just trying to pull out as much detail as I can, really. This next section, I never know what they're called, but you're going to have your, let's mount it on actually. I'm not sure if I'm going the right way with this actually, but no, we go that way, Gav. There we go. So you're looking at, that sits on there, and then that sits on top. In fact, we'll try and, without falling off, we'll try and do that. No, they're going to fall off, aren't they? Yeah. So this guy, you'll see the white bits of plastic card not cut particularly straight. Something I just can't seem to do. Let's take this off for a second because they're just going to fall off. Right, these are obviously the smokestacks. There's 4 of them, too large, too small. They have, these will all be black on the, when it's painted, and they've got these little pieces of metal sticking out, also painted black. So I've just stuck a bit of styrene sheet, plastic card on those. Yeah, what I was trying to say is these are a whole host of cooling vents by the look of it, or cooling grills. Trumpeter have just depicted them as squares, so you could say they were shut, but whenever I've seen them, they're always open, and they have a little sticker on the when it's open saying in case of fire, shut. So I've tried my best. At the time, I've tried putting a frame around these. I tried gently scoring one to see if I could, because this is actually a frame. When they're open, there's a frame and the inside are grills, and I tried to score it out slightly, and I couldn't keep them straight. So and these, as I say, are slightly dished as well because they go over the top. But the only thing I can think of is to replicate them with paint. So I'm going to literally paint them black, or paint them, obviously once they've been, they'll have the main grey colour sprayed all over the ship. They've got like a brassy colour, if I remember rightly, for the grills, but they're usually fairly blacked up with obviously grime. But I'm going to do like a black inside edge and have the grey on the outside. And so with the aid of paint, I'm hopefully, it's going to be a bit long-winded, but I'm hopefully going to make them look like the vents they're supposed to be, roughly. And you can see there's different size ones, and they open at different places, up, down, and all that. I've not done them all, just, you know, here and there. But yeah, a bit of wire there, there was a cable going down, and so that's been added. This one's actually quite white. To say it's by the smokestacks, it's quite white when I've seen them on, unless it's been added. It's a newer refit type of thing. These grills are fairly, obviously big, huge vents again, and I believe they're quite blacked up as well. As I say, I'm hoping my doors will look better when they're actually painted up. This was a bit of a nightmare. I completely stuffed. I put the wrong piece on, which is where is it, Gav? Here it is. Yeah, I confused this piece for this piece. Then I'm damning Trumpeter for why would they? You know, I was looking at my photographs and I was saying, well, you can plainly see it's a box, not an open-ended thing. And I actually put plastic card across it, and it wasn't sitting properly on this, and it was looking a bit big. And I was thinking, that looks weird. It's not even sitting straight. Because Gav cut the complete wrong piece off. The only thing I'd say on this one is where this little step is here, that's actually another small box, but I'm debating whether it's worth. I might just use paint again to show it black in the middle. We'll see on that one. I am trying to there's a few rungs which I've got to add around the ship as well. That instead of trying to make them into a run shape, I've just put them on top of the plastic bits that were already there, just to make them stand out a bit more. These they're almost like mobile tuning units on a military Land Rover, but they'll have antennas sticking up on them as well at some stage towards the end of the build. So yeah, that's about it. We've got our helicopter hangar as well. We're still working on that. These are, whether the people have asked this before, not on my videos, but I've seen them on different forums and stuff when I've been looking for information, and whether they actually move the direction of the air, the wind, whether they actually have some form of function for the actual radar themselves. I've no idea, but you'll see obviously these, and then the one on the top of the main bridge as well. But as you can see, there'll be different bits coming out as well onto the deck. I'm going to have, there's some photo etch to go on this as well, so you can get a photo etched roller top like door. And I'm going to probably have I've seen them different ways. I didn't want it all completely down, but at the same time, there isn't, although there's that bit of stuff in there, and this would normally be painted white from what I could see, either very light grey or white, but there's nothing to really show, you know what I mean? I will do all the, I'll go to town, well, I'm not going to try and do any of the engineering bits all around here, but what I mean is these are lights and stuff, you know, I will weather them and put lights on and everything, but you probably won't see them because I'll be putting the roller door down to about there, I think. And then there's a on the real ship, it's something to do with aiding, I believe, the pilots landing the links. I thought they gave me 2 links with this, because I do believe they can carry 2 links, or either one. I don't know if they carry 2 Merlin, because a Merlin's obviously a bigger helicopter, but in her guise as Kent in this era, which is the early 2000s, she's carrying 1 link, so they've put in the thing. And I will do the classic, have the links on the flight deck, but I won't be making her until the end. You see the ladders there, I've not been removing them, I've actually been putting the ladders on top. It makes my ladders stand out, but I didn't mind that, because on the real ship they actually stand out, obviously on runs that are welded to the main hangar, say, they stand out. So yeah, that's it. So oh, and I think I said to you guys before, there is going to be Charlie Mack's doing his constitution rigging, and although I'm not obviously doing anything to that scale and stuff, but there is a whole host of Easy Line going to be putting off loads of these. I can't believe how much Easy Line's actually going to have to be going on. I didn't realise there would be that much, but I actually have the Easy Line already in stock, so yeah, that's something else to do. So guys, thank you for joining me on today's video of HMS Kent. As I say, I'm not one of these guys that is going to show you build it along, and watch me do stuff, because that would put me under way too much pressure. And as I say, I'm just really enjoying it. I understand that I don't really have the skills to carry out the scratch building, and it is very simplistic scratch building, but I'm enjoying it, and that's the main thing in it. When you're doing a model, it's what you want to do. It's the enjoyment you get out of it, and it really does give me a buzz building this when I get the chance to, open the box and start doing some more bits and pieces. At the moment, I've just got to actually look at some photographs tonight. I won't be building it tonight, but I do want to have a quick look at that. She carries a couple of rigid inflatables, as they mostly do these days, and they're giving me 2 options for the what do they call it? I know, like the hoist that hoists the davit or whatever that hoists her in and out. On the older one, which probably obviously will be this build, and luckily, because I've already put, I should say actually, the rigids the ribs will sit on these 2 chocks, and where these 2 holes are is where your davit will go under and then over the top. That one there might be for the other one, which is more just like a small crane, but I believe I'm doing the earlier one, so I should be alright, but I just want to check on the photographs to make sure. So yeah, some little things like that, but I'll be doing a good few more hours on her over the coming week, just not tonight, because tonight is track building on the Sherman, which, believe me, is going to take a while. But that's just as enjoyable because it's working. If it works, I enjoy it. It's when it all gets pear-shaped I start losing enthusiasm. So, guys, again, thank you very much for joining me. Oh, I'll quickly show you one of the 30. Oh, I nearly had commissioned soldiers everywhere. That wasn't good. Hang on a second. Let's go and rescue those chasseurs before they fall off the edge. Right. This is she carries 2 30mm, I believe they're 30 mils, a cannon. They've actually just started now on these, mounting 4, I'm not sure if they're Mantra missiles, but they're the normal man pads, so they're fired off the shoulder normally, but they've actually realised they can attach 4, I believe, to either side of the gun platform, and where the gun points and whatever, so will the missiles. And they're a cost-effective way to put even more. So these Type 23 is a gift that just keeps giving. I mean, why any country wouldn't want a Type 23, I have no idea. But yeah, what's obviously is like in the Persian Gulf and that, a classic tactic, or a tactic that they reckon will be used at some stage will be swarm tactics. You might have heard of it, and that's literally if you've got one or two ships escorting maybe oil tankers through a choke point where they could be coming under fire. What a potential enemy will do, not naming any, is swarm the ship. It's a cost-effective way. They might not engage the ship with another ship of its own size. What they'll do is attack it with maybe 20 plus boats. Some will be manned, but most will be unmanned, and they will control them if they can't be jammed. Control them to literally swarm and overpower the ship. Now, as we all know, these ships, the way they're constructed now, the metals are used and stuff. These aren't World War II ships. Quite often, if you put a whacking great hole in the side of one, you're going to melt the damn thing completely. So, and they may well as well not just do that, but hit them with drones at the same time, and then maybe even trying to, under all that clutter, launch a land-based missile or an aircraft from firing from your own territory, and loosing off missiles into the Persian Gulf that way. But not just in the Persian Gulf. I mean, this is a tactic. It's a cost-effective way for an aggressive state to take on your warships or warship and sink it without too much problem to itself. So you're finding a lot more of these ships now becoming upgunned. It was funny, after the Falklands War in '82, we realised we needed a heck of a lot more anti-aircraft firing lead into the air than lead, but you know what I mean. But not just rely on missiles, and it seems to have gone down slightly again up to the early 2000s, But these ships now, obviously, they're carrying miniguns, and I would imagine in a wartime war environment where they know they might see combat, they might add more miniguns. They've got the usual general purpose machine gun that the army uses, but against these swarm tactics, they're saying they might well need extras. Whereas these manpad missiles can fire at surface targets or aerial targets. So you put 4 of these on either side of the ship's 230 mils, you've already added a bit more firepower. Plus, if you're carrying extra missiles as well, and the crew might well be firing them from shoulder-launched missiles as well. Yeah, just find it. Sorry, I just find it really interesting. And also for those of you guys that aren't massively interested, I understand, but at the same time, it's understanding what you have as a country have to look out for, what have to do, what the people that man your ships have to do to stay safe and to look after your interests. So yeah, it's even if you're not massively interested, it is something to think about. Does that make sense? Right, I'll get off my soapbox now. There we go. I've put my little my choo-choo train of they'll look roughly like that when they're on the ship. Something like that anyway. So yeah, guys, thanks for joining me. I end up apologising, but you know what I'm like. I ramble. It's what I do, or waffle, whatever you want to call it. So thanks for joining me. There won't be another update on the Kent until we've got all these little doodads all attached, all the bits of plastic, bits of wire that I want to add on extra attached, which isn't that far off now. You can see there are some squares and that still have to have things put on them. I've got to be a bit careful because I'll be painting these by hand, so I don't want to clutter up. Although I'm making the davits and stuff like that for the ship's ribs and that, they won't be put on and obviously this won't be put on because I'm going to have to paint around. But I just want to put the maximum on the ship's upper works before I actually do any painting. Once all that's done, I will hit her with the hull colour, which probably won't look exactly like the hull colour. Hey, never mind. But I'll do the same again. I'll put a black. I'll do because these are all absolutely dinged to hell, like with canning effect. I will try that again and then put the ship's hull colour over the whole ship, then paint the deck areas again, and the windows, all that type of stuff. I'll also, this will be quite complicated because I'm not sure if half is grey and half is black, because obviously they paint it mainly black, I think, mainly for the smoke residue off the funnels. But yeah, really enjoyable. I can't, as I say, for a kit, you know, people say, oh, you know, Trumpeter aren't great at getting things right with their ships and that. I really can't comment on that because this is the first one I've done. But when I look at all the little squares, humps and bumps, yes, they're not defined. They don't, you know, you wouldn't know what they are unless you really look at the photographs. But most of them are actually all there. You know, you wouldn't know what they are, but they're actually in the right place, roughly. So yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for stopping by and taking a look. Coming up videos, we will be having one. I've had some right game with the decals on the 1 in 35 scale Sherman tank from Tamiya. That's taken 2 falls and a submission to get the decals to lay down, and I won't go into it now because it'll spoil yet another rambly video. But we'll have that on. Hopefully we'll see some tracks built for that. So we're talking probably another couple of days away yet for that. What else? 6mm Napoleonics. Probably no, you probably won't get a video till next week on those now when they're based, and then I'm going to do that. But I have got a couple of unboxing videos of figures that I've bought, so I want to show those off as well. So there'll be, as usual, gav videos coming up. Look after yourselves. Once again, I really appreciate the videos you're all making. For you guys that have been really kind enough to hit the like button and all that don't make videos as well, I really appreciate you stopping by and taking a look, because let's face it, without you guys we ain't got YouTube, and it's a waste of time, people like me making videos. So, you know, it's all appreciated. So look after yourselves, and we'll speak soon on another video.